Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see this many people so early on a Friday. Really, because I know that a lot of you have gone out and you had a good time last night. You've had a good time over this whole conference, but you have enough energy to get up this early in the morning, and that is really truly inspiring to me. But one of the things that I always am awestruck with is how LavaCon every year seems to get better and better, and I think to myself, how is Jack going to outdo himself this year over last? And I really do believe that he really did. The venue that you put together, Jack, here is simply amazing. The list of speakers, phenomenal. And the enthusiasm. And one of the things that really, really impressed me was there was a call over the years, how do we drag more young people into the industry that's really going to drive us to change? And if you look at the conference here, there's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of new individuals, young individuals that are here. And the enthusiasm really does make the conference really something special. So why don't we give it up to Jack, because Jack does all this work, and he so often gives credit to everyone else. And Jack, you're a great team leader, because I know you don't do it alone, and you have a great team. So my conversation today is about leading by example, and that's what Jack does. So you're my role model, Jack. Thank you. Excellent job. So quite a few of you I've known over the industry. I've been in this industry for about 30 years, 3 decades, but I've got to know you while I was serving in different roles. So for 2 decades, I grew a business called Integrated Technology. It was a consulting firm. We got into Unix when Unix was first coming out, with Sun workstations. And then we started getting into SGML and XML, and we grew our business. And I got to know you individually as some customers, others just friends, and others are coworkers or even frenemies. We got to experience each other. But I've been in different roles. After 2 decades of doing that, growing our business, Wire and Oz, what I did was I moved over to Adobe Systems. I was their director. And I got to understand a different part of the business, something from the software manufacturer's side of the business, and got to have relationships with you in a different way. From there, I moved over to Acrolinx. And Acrolinx, an artificial intelligent linguistics engine company, that was an interesting gig, because what I had an opportunity to do is to really drive a venture capital-backed firm, and we got to know each other in a different respect. It wasn't just software for creating tools, it was about creating better content. So that was a very interesting thing. But then War asked me, she said, hey, listen, why don't we just start another consulting company? And that's what we've been doing for a little under 2 years with the content era. So it's been great to actually get to understand and know you guys, but this conference gave me the ability to meet new people. Like I said, there's a lot of new faces, a lot of young faces. There's actually, it was interesting over this last 3 days to get to hear about what you were doing in your organizations. And the thing that really inspired me was that there's this enthusiasm to move forward and to innovate. So I really enjoyed just these last 2 days getting to know you and getting to know everybody. And I also am the host for Thought Leader Thursday. So what we do is we bring on the thought leaders within our industry, and I get to interview them. And every week we get to bring in a new thought leader. So if anybody has any interesting ideas that they want to present, feel free to reach out to me. We're going to have a season 2 that's going to start in a couple of months. So let's get that done. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at ourselves. So I have a question for everybody, including the virtual audience. How many people consider themselves a leader? So with a show of hands, let me know how many are considered a leader. All right, we got quite a few. What do we got in the virtual audience, Phyllis? Okay, we got quite a few out there too. So what's surprising is not everybody considers themselves a leader, but you truly are a leader, because basically What you're going to be doing, and you do every day, is you do lead by example. So when I was asked to give a presentation at 8 a.m. on a Friday, the last day of the conference, which is a tough gig, I decided let's keep it light. Let's make it something that's going to be a simple idea to comprehend. How do we get some tools to do that better? And we'll move forward. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about, why should we lead by example and how we can do it and do it better and more focused. So if you didn't think that you really were someone who is a leader, if you're a member of a family or if you have kids, you lead by example. You are truly a leader. So what I'm going to talk to you about applies to you personally. Even though you may not be a leader within your organization in your mind, you're a leader in general. It could be at your home. So you can use these tools at your home. With your friends. So say you've been orphaned and you don't have a family. You certainly probably have friends. And your friends will look to you as an example. So it applies to you also. When you're dealing with your coworkers, same thing. You're going to set the tone for how your organization moves forward or your department moves forward. And if you are a leader within your organization, it is imperative that you lead by example, set the tone. The other thing is, and this is the thing that really is interesting to me, I get an opportunity to travel around the globe. And when I do go to conferences, speak at conferences, work at customer sites, I find it really interesting when I'm approached and say, hey, I know you. I've heard you on Thought Leader Thursday, or we met years ago, or I follow you on social media, or I read your blog. People are watching you even when you don't even know that they are. So you are setting an example, and it's important that you decide what you want to be. What kind of example do you want to set? So everybody can understand that you are a leader, right? So how many people are leaders here in the audience? Yeah, everybody's a leader. So now what we need to do is we have to decide what type of leader do we want to be? What do we want to show the world? So let's be really mindful about what we do. So do we want to be helpful? Do you want people to be helpful that are around you? We have to be helpful, right? So do we want to be helpful? Do we want to be someone who's seen as somebody who shares? Do we want to be creative? Are you trying to nurture an environment around you that's creative and helpful and people that share? Or do you want to be aggressive? Now, in a sales organization, it's okay to have people around you that are aggressive. In fact, maybe in some instances, in some organizations, that's what you want. You want an aggressive sales organization. And if that's the case, you have to set that tone with your coworkers. And if you're a boss, you got to do the same. So basically, I'm not judging and I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm not telling you that you need to be a certain way. What I'm saying is decide the persona that you want to send out. Decide what you want people to emulate. So the most important lesson that you can learn at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, on the last day of the conference, after going out almost every night probably, having a couple of drinks, if I can just get one point across, basically know that you are being followed by your family, by your friends, by your coworkers, by your subordinates. So make sure that you decide what you want people to see. So at the end of the day, be mindful. We need to just think about it, ponder it. We're intelligent people. Let's decide what is it that we want to have people see in us. What impact do we want in our organization? And then you can actually start working with other team members. Now, if I was a leader within an organization, I'd be thinking to myself, well, I'm creating a soup. I want a lot of different personalities. So I would look to my team and I'd say, well, you are someone who shares. What I want you to do is amplify that. And you're someone who's aggressive. Well, I want you to amplify that because what I want is, to have that mixture. So as a leader, you could actually nurture people that have different strengths in what you can amplify within your organization. You can have multiple leaders within your organization or within your group. So let's not be a dumb animal. Let's not just react and go through life without really thinking about the way we're going to be. So if we react and we let ourselves be too emotional, is that an example that we want to set? Absolutely not. And there's no reason we have to. We can be the example that we decide to be. So don't let stress dictate who you are or what your organization is going to be like. We need to decide what environment that we want. So, sorry if I'm being a little preachy, but we can determine where we're going as an organization by leading the example for the organization. Even if you're not the leader within your group, your personality, the way that you have people perceive you is going to be infectious. If you're mindful, if you decide that you need to have people that are around you that are going to be cooperative, well, if you do that, that's going to make a huge difference in really making people around you the same way. So what I would hope for, if there's one thing that you walk away from, is that you can start today to start thinking about the way you want to be perceived. Let's start today. And what I'll do is I'm going to end up doing it first. So I'll take the first step, okay? So one of the things that I hope to have people that are around me, the people that I want surrounding me, is I want people that are open to new ideas, right? So the simplest thing in the world would be for me to just be open to new ideas, and I try to do that. But what else can I do to get people that are surrounding me at even my customer relationships or the people that work for me or around my family? What can I do that would make people open to new ideas? So that's a question I'm putting out to the virtual audience and yourself. If I want to improve, I'm a work in progress. What can I do? What can I say? How can I conduct myself to have people open to new ideas? Does anybody have any ideas for me? I know it's early in the morning. It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
One of the things that I believe you have to do to show that you're open to new ideas is to express enthusiasm when you hear a new idea. Don't say no right away. Don't think of what's wrong with it. Think about what's right with it. Start there. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's true, right? As a leader, you don't want to shoot down an idea and hope everybody's going to come up with the next new one. How about yourself?
Ask people open-ended questions, and in some cases, ask questions that you don't know the answer to.
That's what I'm doing now, right? Excellent. Anything from the virtual audience?
While we're waiting on the virtual audience, one thing I learned in improv is yes and. You take whatever the team person gives you and add to it. Oh, we could also do this. We could also do this. So.
Well, I noticed that this crowd, and I'm actually asking a question that I know all of you are accepting of, right? Because you're going to a conference to learn new ideas and concepts. So I'm literally asking a group that are open to new ideas. So what I'm hoping for is to make that infectious. People come around and they're asking, what can I do different? This is what we're doing today. This is where we want to go. So you are the people that can infect the crowd.
We've got a couple things from the virtual audience. Once in a while, stop and take store of what you have accomplished with your team. Actually come to meetings prepared and speak out. And don't be one of those shutdown types. Take your blinders off and look for reasons to give credit to someone else.
Right, so you're just giving people credit, don't shut them down, open to new ideas yourself. Excellent. I'm going to integrate this into my life because these are my goals. So I'm just an integrator. You know, over the 30 years, I'm a consultant. And over the 30 years, I've looked to see what's worked and what doesn't work. And basically, I bring it into my life. So I appreciate that. There you go. Creative. I like to surround myself with creative people. I noticed that there's quite a few of you who stopped by our booth and took a picture on the green screen and put that background in place. Well, that wasn't my idea. That was our team's idea. So finding creative people and nurturing creativity is really important to me. So I try to be creative myself and not to pull out an old phrase like thinking outside the box. You know, how do you get people to be really creative in the way they think? Because it's so easy to be stuck in your ways. So what can we do to be more creative as a persona? Any ideas? That's a tough one, isn't it?
Hold on, Tiger.
One of the things that I have found is really useful is to remind my team, to remind the people around me that creative isn't just writing or art. You can be creative in how you think about patterns in data. You can be creative in a ton of different ways. But the idea is, what do I see around me that I can incorporate into my life? And it's not all about the words and the pictures.
There you go.
In our company, I have a written policy going, how else can we do this? How can we do this better? How can we do it faster? Constantly looking at it, going, what else can we do? You're just asking the question.
Good one.
Oh, hold on.
I got one back here. So in foreign language acquisition in education, we talk about something called novel utterance. And we need to remember that the word create is in creativity. And being able to create novel utterances and to say something new and to understand that if someone says something to you and you don't know what they're talking about, to dig deeper. Because those novel utterances are where innovation happens.
Excellent.
I think another thing to remember, and it sounds so contrite, is give people permission to let go of the constraints that they do or think they have. Because even if, yes, we can never change X or we can never change Y, let's think about it like we could change them, and maybe we'll come to a new idea about doing things that we might be able to accomplish after all.
Yeah, just to talk one of my weaknesses, right? One of my weaknesses is when I ask people, especially if I join a new organization, I'm responsible to change the organization as a whole. I'll usually ask, what are we doing? How do we do our processes? How do we operate? And when people say, well, we've always been doing it this way, to me, I literally have to be mindful and not get too upset about that. That is a flaw of mine that I work on every day. I truly do like the creative people. Is there anyone else that...
So sometimes there's an issue where some people just aren't thinking outside the box, and I find sometimes giving an exercise that's playful and doing something else helps them to think in other directions. Like I had them when they were trying to come up with an idea for interactivity, and they're not really thinking about it. Well, how about I brought in different pop-up books, and let's say they're going to do a pop-up book version, and then it breaks down those barriers.
Excellent. So I've been told that I only have 5 minutes, so I gotta get going. So great ideas. So hey, some of the other things that I want to surround myself with people that are calculated risk takers. I really have a hard time doing the same thing over and over again. So I actually like to try some things differently. So some of the things that I do to help people become calculated risk takers is I look for people to fail. I don't discourage people from failing. The one thing that I do ask them to do, though, is to fail fast. So I really, if people aren't failing, they're not pushing the edge, they're not taking calculated risks. The only danger that you have is if they really fail later on in a process, it could be very costly. So I do push people to, hey, fail once in a while, make a mistake, ask for forgiveness, not for permission, but do it quickly. I really like to surround myself with caring people, people that truly want to help other people. And you can actually feel that when somebody's actually faking being caring. That's actually something that is something that you can smell and feel on somebody. But if I can surround myself with people who are just out to help other people, to me that is incredible. And I have an opportunity to work with many different companies and many different organizations on different projects. And some teams are incredible on the way that they care about the project, they care about their company, they care about the individuals, there's no politics. I really enjoy working in that environment, and I always find it a little bit challenging when it's not that way, but I try to encourage that, and I try to surround myself with people that are truly caring. Good listeners, that's the other thing that I try to surround myself with. If people will half listen to you and then cut you off and then tell you what their opinion is, that really discourages new ideas. So I'm always really looking for people who actively listen, and you can't solve problems unless you actively listen and then ask questions based upon what's being said to bring out more and more. So I literally am mindful to myself, don't cut this person off. You may have an idea, but let's listen to more about what their situation is and probe and ask more questions. I have to be very mindful about that, but I do it, and I've been doing it for years, just to get people that are good listeners. Questioning assumptions is the biggest thing. If you have an organization that's not really moving forward or something is failing, normally what I do is I look to the assumptions. What are we assuming? We assume the world was flat. On top of that, no decision's going to make a lot of sense. So an organization or any process that you're doing, there are basic assumptions that all questions are being answered, all plans are being built on. What I do immediately as a consultant is I look to the assumptions and I question each one of them. It's basic, but it will change your group dramatically. So I try to surround myself with people who question the assumptions. And the next one is I personally like positive people. So I surround myself with positivity, but on occasion, it's true. You need somebody who's going to be maybe a little negative, and that's a good thing. My flaw is I always have to have positive people around me. But if you have somebody who's negative, that actually brings out good ideas, because if you're just sitting there saying, great idea, and it's really not a great idea, that's not going to work out so well. So I do try to surround myself with positive people, but maybe a little negativity helps too. So I'm a work in progress, and I have to work in my wife's picture because I do it every presentation. So I am a work in progress, but I'm getting a little help from my life coach, Aldous. So could you stand up? There's the girl that changed my life. Thank you. Yeah, Wa comes from Vietnam, and her culture really made a difference in my life because she takes a look at things from a different angle, and she's really open to sharing that with me, and it made a huge difference. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. So I think that being mindful and working to be an example is definitely working out for me because, and I will close this out because I know I'm running out of time, but I think it's working for me because something really special happened when we created our company, The Content Era. It's only 2 years old, but we were able to, War and I, pull in some really good talent and good people. One guy is Young Grat. Has anybody ever met Young Grat? He's one of the most amazing, creative programmers, thinking outside the box type of people. And he came to us and said, hey, is there any way we could join this organization? But I'm really, really blessed because that's Ashley Aldous, and that's my daughter. It's Ashley Aldous Pangborn, actually. She's been married, and she's actually the one that made me a grandfather. But she came in, and she's joined our company. Tiffany, some of you guys have met her at the conference here. She was taking pictures. She's my youngest daughter. and she's in charge of technology. I'm so glad that I threw a Unix workstation in her crib. So she's joined. And Greg Pangborn, who actually just deals in video and a videographer, he's joined our organization. So basically, I'm trying to lead by example. I'm closing this out. One of the things that we do that, if you take a look at our website, basically what we believe is that XML should be the basis of all of your content. Everything else is just a published event. Why would you edit HTML? Why would you manage HTML? It should be published. So basically, I put that out as a challenge. And basically, if you go to our website, it's built real time. Whenever you click on a page, it's DITA XML content that gets transformed in the cloud and delivered to you. So I'm trying to lead by example. All your content should be XML. That's our example. And this is my last pitch. Sorry, Jack. But if you're interested in joining an organization that has these values, I'd love to talk to you. Thank you very much.